Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanang Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Deving Sarasating Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashto Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nittang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, Chapter 14. The verse that has been written on the board is this text 4, yeah? Oh no, 3. Yeah. Text 3. 1 and 2, text 1 and 2 don't have any purport. Therefore, we are just going to the third verse. So it's the beginning of this chapter, the 4th canto, 9th canto, 14th chapter. King Pururava, enchanted by Urvashi. Text 1 and 2 I'll just read through, then third one we'll recite together. Shri Suka Ubacha Athata Shruyatang Rajan Bangsha Somasya Pavanaha Jasmin Noila Dayo Bhupa Kirtante Punna Kirtaya. Srila Sukadeva Goswami said to Maharaj Parikshit, O king, thus far you have heard the description of the dynasty of the sun god. Now hear the most glorious and purifying description of the dynasty of the moon god. This description mentions kings like Oila, Pururava, of whom it is glorious to hear. Text 2. Sahasra Shirasaha Pungso Nabhi Rido Swaro Ruhat Jata Sasit Suto Dhatur Atri Pitri Samogunai. Lord Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, is also known as Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha. From the lake of his navel sprang a lotus on which Lord Brahma was generated. Atri, the son of Lord Brahma, was as qualified as his father. So now we're coming to text 3. Tasya Drigbho Abhavat Putraha Soma Amritamayaha Kila Viprausadhi Uru Gananam Brahmana Kalpitaha Patihi Tasyo Drigbho Bhavat Putraha Somamrito Maya Kila Vipro Saddha Uru Gananam Brahmana Kalpita Pathi Tasyo Drigbho Bhavat Putraha Somamrito Maya Kila Vipro Saddha Udugananam ब्रह्मणा कल्पिता पथिः तस्योद्रिग्भो भवत्पुत्रः सोममृतोमयः किल विप्रौषद्धो उडुगणानां ब्रह्मणा कल्पिता पतिः भवत्पुत्र सोममृतमया किल विप्रौषध्युग्रगणानां ब्रह्मणा कल्पिता पतिः दिग्भो भवत्पुत्र सोममृतोमया किल प्रौषध्युग्रगणानां ब्रह्मणा पतिः सदृग्भो भवत्पुत्र ममृतोमया किल विप्रौषध्युग्रगणानां ब्रह्मणा कल्पिता पतिः. Mataji is Tasya, of him, Atri, the son of Brahma, Drigbha, from the tears of jubilation from the eyes, Abhavat, was born, Putraha, a son, Somaha, the moon god, Amritamaya, full of soothing rays, Kila, indeed, Vipra, of the Brahmanas, Oshadhi, of the drugs, Urugananam, of the luminaries, Brahmana, by Lord Brahma, Kalpitaha, was appointed or designated, Patihi, the Supreme Director. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. From Atri's tears of jubilation was born a son named Soma, the moon, who was full of soothing rays. Lord Brahma appointed him the director of the Brahmanas, drugs, and luminaries. Please repeat after me. From Atri's tears of jubilation was born a son named Soma, the moon, who was full of soothing rays. Lord Brahma appointed him the director of the Brahmanas, drugs, and luminaries. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to the Vedic description, Soma, the moon god, was born from the mind of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chandrama manoso jataha. But here we find that Soma was born from the tears in the eyes of Atri. This appears contradictory to the Vedic information. But actually it is not. For the birth of the moon is understood to have taken place in another millennium. When tears appears in the eyes, Because of jubilation, the tears are soothing. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Drigbha anandashrubhya ata evamritamayaha. Here the word Drigbha means from the tears of jubilation. Therefore the moon god is called Amritamaya, full of soothing rays. In the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we find this verse, Atra patni anusuyatrin jante sujashashaha sutan dattam durvashasham somam atmesha brahma sambhavan. This verse describes that Anusuya, the wife of Atri Rishi, bore 3 sons, Som, Durvasha and Dattatreya. It is said that at the time of conception, Anusuya was impregnated by the tears of Atri. Om Ajnanati Mirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishthang Sthapitang Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaiham Dadati Swapadantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, at the beginning of this chapter, Sukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj that in the previous chapter, the Sun dynasty was described. Sun dynasty, there are 2 Kshatriya dynasties. One is coming from sun god, Vivashwan, as we find in Bhagavad Gita, Imang Vivashyate Jogam Praktavan Ahamabbayam Vivashwan Manavipraho Manur Ikshakuve Avravit. Krishna is saying, first I gave this knowledge to sun god, Vivashwan. Then Vivaswan gave it to his son, Manu. Then Manu gave it to his son, Ikshaku. In this way, in a line of disciplic succession of the saintly kings, Imam Rajarshayo Vidu, Rajarshis, Raja, king, Rishi. The Rishis became Rajas, Rishis became kings. That's how glorious is the history of India. Not some unscrupulous people by some political vote becomes a king or the leader of the society. No. Those days, the saintly personalities used to be appointed as the kings by the divine arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And those societies were automatically very, very prosperous and peaceful and spiritually situated. Kali Yuga, everything turned upside down. No king. No king because all kinds of unscrupulous people became kings due to the influence of the age of Kali. The kings became tyrants. Therefore, monarchy is gone. The kings, or in the Vedic time, the kings used to rule the kingdom under the guidance of the Brahmanas. The kings were not independent. But when the Brahmanas, the Brahminical culture was lost due to the age of Kali, Kali actually attacks from the head. Kali attacked the Brahmanas first. When the Brahmanas were destroyed, then the Kshatriyas became independent. And when Kshatriyas became independent, they started to act in a wrongful way. And therefore, they are dethroned. Or in India, what happened? The foreign invaders came and took over. But in the Western country, what happened? There was revolution and French Revolution. They got rid of the kings, put them in the guillotines. Anyone who had any royal connection, they got rid of them. This way, different revolutions, French Revolution, Russian revolutions, and so now the world is democracy. Prabhupada said, democracy means demon crazy. Because when, the simple consideration, again, this is a statement of Srila Prabhupada, how can ignorant mass elect a wise leader? Mass is ignorant. Most of the people in the society are not very learned or wise, and they are very easily misled. And then when they elect, they naturally end up, in most cases, end up electing the wrong person. And on top of everything, the social structure is completely destroyed. The Varnashram is gone. There is no Brahmanas, no Kshatriyas. There are some semblance of Vaishyas. And most of the mass, most of the population is Sudra. Ashuddha Sudra Kalpahi Brahmana Kali Sambhava. In the age of Kali, even the Brahmanas will become as contaminated as the Sudras. So that means whole society is Sudra society. Fortunately, Srila Prabhupada came and he started to revive the Vedic culture. Prabhupada is creating Brahmanas through ISKCON, Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. But the big challenge is Kshatriyas. Anyway, but here we are seeing how the society used to be those days. Sun god's line came. The sun god, a demigod, actually started this dynasty. Sun god, Vivashwan, his son Manu, Vaivashata Manu, became the king. Then Manu's son, Ikshaku, like the Sun dynasty is Lord Ramchandra's dynasty. Lord Ramchandra appeared in Ikshaku dynasty. Then Ikshaku's son is Nimi. And in this way, these are all Rajarshis, saintly personalities. And then came King Janak Raj, Dasarath, his father Aja, and Lord Ramchandra appeared in that family. He appeared in Sun dynasty, Surya Vamsa. And even today we see in Japan, they consider that the royal family is coming from sun god. The word Nippon means sun. Other name of Japan, Nippon. So it's they recognize that their family is coming from Sun dynasty. And now we are being described the Moon dynasty. These are history. But unfortunately, there's another unfortunate state of affairs in the age of Kali, that even in India people think that these are mythology. They call it mythology. And this is the prasad of the British rulers. They fed us with their Mahaprasad. Everything that is Indian is bad. Shastra became mythology. The mythology, the simple translation of mythology is mythology. Mithya, false, lies, fairy tales. But when we go into it, we can see there's a whole genealogical table. The entire dynasty, one after another. Now, in any fairy tale, do we get the name of the father of the person? If we get the father of the person, do we get the name of the grandfather of the person? Who is the father? Who is the father of Cinderella? Maybe we know the father of Cinderella. Grandfather? Who is the father of Superman? Maybe Superman's father has been mentioned. If not mentioned, there has been kind of some sort of descriptions there. But his grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, going all the way to the origin? No. Whereas in the Vedic scriptures, there is a distinct descriptions of the table, genealogical line. Chandravamsa. Chandravamsa. Like here is the coming. Moon god. And who is the moon god's father? Soma's father? We are getting that also. Atri Rishi. And not only he is the Somdevi's only son. 3 brothers. Soma, Atreya, Dattatreya, and Soma, Dattatreya, and Durvasha. So, and it goes like, we can also see that another line of the Soma dynasty, Moon dynasty, naturally it gets divided into various lines. One line is Jadu, Jadu dynasty. Krishna appeared in Jadu dynasty. And another consideration, Jadu dynasty did not become kings. That's why Krishna didn't become king. He didn't become the king. He gave the kingdom to Ugrasen after he killed Kamsa. He could have become king, but he didn't. There was a curse. Another description in the same line. What an amazing, wonderful happening. Sometimes it's said that facts are stranger than fiction. Facts are stranger than fiction, and we can see that. There was a king called Jajati. He was ruling over the entire earth planet. King Jajati one day was hunting in the forest, and he heard some cry of a young damsel. So following the sound, he came to a well, and he found that there is a girl in the well crying, asking for help. So and that girl was naked. So he took off his outer garment, chadar, lowered it, asked her to cover herself, and helped her to come up. Rescued her. What actually happened? This girl happens to be Sukracharya's daughter, Devjani. Sukracharya is another real person, not fairy tales. And who is he? The guru of the demons, Daitya Kula Guru. There are 2 lines. Diti's sons are Daityas, and Aditi's sons are Adityas or demigods. Demigods guru is Brihaspati, and demons guru, Daitya guru, is Sukracharya. Sukracharya is the guru of the Daityas, and the king of Daitya at that time was King Brishaparva. And Brishaparva had a daughter named Sharmishtha. And Sukracharya's daughter was Devjani. So one day they, along with all the friends, the princess and the guru's daughter and many other girls, they went to a lake. and they were sporting in the lake. And at that time, Lord Shiva happened to be passing by. So these girls became embarrassed. They quickly came out of the water and covered themselves. And in a haste, while they were covering themselves, Sharmishtha happened to take the cloth of Devjani. And when Devjani came out and started to look for her clothes, she couldn't find it. And then she found that Sharmishtha was wearing that. So she started to insult her. That how dare you wear my cloth? I am your father's guru's daughter. And so then they got into an argument which took a very bitter turn, and Sharmishtha threw Devjani into the well and left the place. So that is how Jajati actually found Devjani in the well. So he rescued her. So Devjani naturally felt very grateful to Jajati and said that, look, you took me by my hand and rescued me like a husband. So you have to marry me. Please marry me. So now there is a consideration that according to the Vedic culture, the women from higher class cannot be married by one from the lower class. Because the women from the higher class is considered to be like the mother. So how can anyone get married to the mother? But Devjani insisted, and so went to Shukracharya, her father, and narrated the whole incident. And Shukracharya became so upset because Sharmishtha started to insult Devjani, saying that your father is being maintained by my father, like a dog is maintained by a master. And when Shukracharya heard that, he said, okay, I'm leaving. So in the meantime, King Brishaparva got to know that, and he realized that if his guru is upset, then there is no hope. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Rash Bihari ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So then he came, Shukracharya was leaving with Devjani. So Brishaparva came, fell at his feet and said, please don't go. Please, please forgive us. So he said, okay, fine, I'll forgive you. But my daughter is very upset. How are you going to pacify her? So Devjani said, okay, let your daughter become my maidservant. So Brishaparva agreed. So when Devjani got married to Jajati, Sharmishtha accompanied her. It's a custom in the Vedic culture that when a princess got married, her friends and others also accompanied her in her husband's house. So King Devjani took Sharmishtha and along with other friends. Now Sharmishtha was extremely beautiful. So Shukracharya suspected that something may go wrong. So he made Jajati take a vow that he would never sleep with Sharmishtha. And so on that condition, he got married to Devjani. And in course of time, Sharmishtha approached Jajati, and they secretly started to meet. This is also another consideration. Anyway, let's not get into the details. So, and as a result of that, he got 3 sons out of Sharmishta. And eventually Devjani found out who is the father. And she got really upset. So she left the palace, went to her father's house. So Jajati came begging forgiveness. Please, please forgive me. But Shukracharya was so upset. He said that you lusty rascal, I curse you that you lose your youthfulness. You'll become infected, afflicted by old age. And immediately he became old. And he kept on begging to Shukracharya, see, my desires for sense gratification has been satisfied. So please, please forgive me. Give me my youth back. So Shukracharya said, okay, if one of your sons accept your old age in exchange of his youth, then you can get your youth back. So Jajati came, and he had, from Devjani he had 2 sons, Yadu and Turbashu. And from Sharmishta he had 3 sons, Druhu, Anu and Puru. Puru was the youngest. So he asked his first son, Yadu, that please give me your youth in exchange of my old age. Jadu responded, well, I haven't gone through my life. I haven't gone through the youthful enjoyment. So please don't ask such a thing from me. So he refused to give his youth. So that's why Jajati actually cursed him that you will not get your kingdom, because usually the eldest son becomes the king. And not only you won't get the kingdom, none of your descendants will ever have any kingdom. Then he went to the next son, Turbashu, then Druhu, then Anu. They all refused. And then finally he went to his youngest son, Puru, and Puru agreed to give his kingdom, he gave his youth. So that is how Jajati got back his youth. It's very interesting actually. These narrations are there in Srimad Bhagavatam. Like after enjoying for many, many years, King Jajati came to his ultimate realization. Material enjoyment is only short-lived and one is never satisfied. That's what Prabhupada told me during one of my first darshan with him. I was sitting in front of him, he was having his massage. And he just told me that for so many lifetimes you're trying to enjoy and you can see that you're still not satisfied. So just offer this life to Krishna. And Prabhupada explained for a long time about the futility of material enjoyment and how this material nature is a prison house of sex desire, Maithunagara, a prison house of sex desire. And then finally Prabhupada told me, just offer this life to Krishna. Even if nothing happens, what's the loss? It's just one life out of so many. And fortunately, by Prabhupada's mercy, for last 43 years I've been trying to offer this life to Krishna. And so King Jajati came to realize that there is no enjoyment actually in this material nature. So he decided to give his youth back to his son Puru. And then he told a story to his wife Devjani. He told, one day a he-goat was roaming around in the forest, and then he heard the cry of some she-goat. And he found a she-goat in a well. So he rescued the she-goat. And then they got married. Then one day, the she-goat, the wife of the he-goat, found that the he-goat is having an affair with another she-goat. So she went and reported to her master. So in this way, through the goat story, he narrated the whole story to Devjani. And that's how Devjani came to her senses. And so in this way, at the end of their life, they left everything, took Banaprast and went to the forest and dedicated their lives in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Srimad Bhagavatam is actually a narration of all factual happenings. It's not fairy tales. Like today, I would say India's greatest misfortune is that they're considering the scriptures to be mythology. Scriptures are the truth, dealing with the absolute truth and nothing but the truth. But in India, they're thinking that they're all fairy tales, Puranic stories. Puranic stories. Puran is fictions, fictitious stories. And the unfortunate thing is nobody actually goes deep into that. It's by mercy that we actually have the access to the scriptures and getting an opportunity to go deep into it. And as a result of that, things are becoming crystal clear. Starting from Bhagavad Gita. Krishna spoke. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. And we have to recognize Bhagavad Gita the way Arjuna understood it. Not some mental speculator understanding of Bhagavad Gita and giving his commentary. Therefore, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is specifically designed as Bhagavad Gita as it is. I remember in 1976, we took a statistics of English translations of Bhagavad Gita. We found almost 250 English translations of Bhagavad Gita. And all those 250 Bhagavad Gita translations put together did not make a single devotee of Krishna. Whereas Prabhupada's one Bhagavad Gita is making millions of devotees all over the world. So that is the genuineness or authenticity of Srila Prabhupada's presentation. Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita actually gives us the right understanding that touches everyone's heart. That this is it. And this is what needs to be followed. And every single book that Srila Prabhupada gave is tipped with this kind of absolute wisdom. And the absolute wisdom is very simple. Beyond this material nature, there is another reality, the spiritual reality. We all came from the spiritual sky. And that is why our bodies made of matter is conscious. These bodies are alive because the soul is there. The souls, we all came from the spiritual world. And in the spiritual world, the predominating personality is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Creator. and who is the supreme maintainer. And that personality is so concerned about us that he is situated in our hearts. In every single living, with every single living entity, whether he is in a human form, animal form, insect form, reptile form, trees and plant form, Krishna is there with him as the super soul. And when one gets the human form, then one actually gets an opportunity to recognize his spiritual identity and recognize the Supreme Personality of Godhead and recognize his loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when he establishes that loving relationship with him, then his life becomes successful. Simple teachings. And there are scriptures after scriptures presenting the same absolute truth. Scriptures are not contradicting. Scriptures are always saying the same thing. So, at least we can recognize our good fortune that has been created by Srila Prabhupada. It is because of his mercy that we all are here today. It's due to his mercy that we are. Yes, give him the mic.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for your wonderful class. My question is, we see how Soma stole the wife of Brahaspati Guru, and thereafter he begot the son Buddha. Thereafter Pururava comes and the Yadu dynasty starts. And in the same dynasty, the moon of the moon dynasty, that is Krishna, comes. How to reconcile the understanding, the dynasty which began with such relationship, in that same dynasty, how can Krishna appear, the supreme upholder of the religious principles?
You should ask this question to Krishna. Well, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, actually all, there is nothing wrong in this dynasty. All their activities, we have to understand that they are taking place in a much more elevated platform. It is not in our gross platform as such. And these personalities are so exalted, and their existence is so, what should I say, their existence is so exalted that all these activities do not really affect them. For example, as you were saying, like Soma taking Brihaspati's wife. And so we have to understand that these activities, like for example, from Brahma's mind, children are born. And they're just 2 generations down Brahma. So what is their, stage of procreation? Their level of procreation. Do you understand the point? Like from his tears, Buddha is born. Soma is born. From his tears, how is it possible? I mean, if somebody can be born from one's mind, why not from his tears? If somebody can be born out of his shadow, if somebody can be born from the part of his limb, then what is the difficulty in accepting that, that these are not real. These happenings are not real. Okay. And another consideration here is, Krishna can appear anywhere. But by appearing, he purifies the whole dynasty. Alright? Because Krishna appeared in Moon dynasty, the entire Moon dynasty had been sanctified. So that's another way of looking at it. And besides that, another thing that we have to recognize, you see, the procreation through copulation as such started from Manu and Satarupa. Right? Brahma's right hand side came Manu, Swayambhuva Manu, and left hand side Satarupa. And due to their union, the process of from them came the human beings, Manavas, Manu's offsprings, Manavas. So the way and other kinds of procreation also in different species also started from that, because Satarupa took different forms and Manu followed that form, like the form of a horse, form of different other creatures. But this, Atri, Soma, they're before Manu's appearance, or the procreation through copulation. So we have to understand that this kind of procreation is of another dimension altogether. It's not as gross as in this platform. Okay? Yes, go ahead.
But we find that there was a fight between the demons and the demigods for the same cause.
What cause?
The cause was that the Soma had stolen the wife Tara of Brahaspati.
Okay.
And then there was a fight between them. If it was on a transcendental platform or a different platform, then why there was a fight?
When you have an enemy, right? When you have an enemy, and if that person has an enemy, you tend to join him. So that's why Daityas joined Brihaspati's side in his conflict with the demigods. Okay, there's a question from this side here.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Maharaj, you mentioned the foreign invaders, the Britishers came and they made our scriptures explain to at least my forefathers that these are not the history, but it's a mythology. These are fictions.
So your forefather said it.
It's a two generation. We are 2 generations after the Britishers. So we believe, because it's in our education system, so we believe that these are all.
So what about your forefather? They believed these are fiction. They also believed that these are fiction.
So my question was the same thing. How did they convince our forefathers that these are not Puranas, but these are fictions? And when my children are there, how can I convince them that these are really the histories?
Your children are more fortunate than your forefathers. Because your children will have the influence of Srila Prabhupada, what your forefathers didn't have. And the British actually very systematically brainwashed the Indians. They used the Indians to make the Indians believe that everything that is Indian is bad and everything that is from the British is the best. Right? They did it very systematically, especially when you look at the history of Bengal, you can see that. That's where the British actually started. And what they did is the missionaries came, set up the schools. And the boys from high-class families, those who were quite affected by the influence by the Britishers, they sent their children to those schools. And others, because that became the standard of education. The education system that the British had established. And those people got big positions by the arrangements of the British. And everybody started to believe that that is the way to go. Right? So everybody then, I mean, all intelligent class of people started to follow that. And it didn't happen overnight, but over a period of time, that's what happened. I mean, come to think of it, even now, what is the standard of our education? How do we judge the education of a person? Isn't it still that how good an English he speaks? Right? His English knowledge is the standard of his education, which is good. Because of the British, we can preach all over the world today. Because the Indians, of all the people in this world, like the Indians have the best command over the English language, besides the English-speaking world. The Indians have the most profound influence or command over the English language. Yes?
Maharaj.
Maharaj, it was a wonderful class.
Thank you.
I want to just share 2 short sentences and ask you to explain for us.
Okay.
Prabhupada said, actual love is possible only with Krishna.
Yes.
Once one loves Krishna, that love can never be broken at any time. Can you please just...
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to meet you. I remember those days when I used to go to your program in LA. Not LA, that's... Okay, now you're in North Carolina. I'm talking about...
No, previously we were. We're living in Udupi last 10 years.
I see. Okay. So anyway, you see, love is meant only for Krishna. Because love is actually an energy that is with the soul. That actually, the energy or the force that enables one to become united. Right? Now, when we are oblivious of Krishna, then we tend to offer that love to different other objects. But that love is never fully satisfied or fulfilled. Even Romeo and Juliet, in spite of their deep loving relationship, had to part. And the thing is, it is actually meant to be offered to Krishna. Why? Because it is the ability that is inherent with the soul to be connected to Krishna. We all are parts and parcels of Krishna. We all belong to Krishna. Therefore, we have to be connected to Krishna. The means to be connected is love, the energy that is there with the soul. Therefore, as you said, Prabhupada said that it's meant only to be offered to Krishna. Otherwise, that love is never successful. No matter wherever we repose it, heart is not fully content. And the outcome of love, through love, we are actually seeking for joy. Right? The purpose of love, or the objective of love, is to joy, to enjoy. Right? And unless and until we repose offer our love to Krishna, we can never experience that joy that our hearts are always hankering for. But when it is done, then the heart is completely content. Heart is completely joyful. Therefore, there is no way of breaking that loving relationship. Thank you. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Yes?
Got 2 questions. One is that we see many versions of Ramayana, which are having different descriptions of the Ram Leela, which out of that only one could be actually have happened. So this also distracts that how this can happen. Also there are many descriptions different in Padma Puran and other Puran than Bhagavata Puran. So then it becomes like fiction only, that is, as per writers.
Okay, so the authentic Ramayana is Valmiki's Ramayana. Period. That is it. Valmiki's Ramayana. There is no need to read any other Ramayana. But there may be some Ramayana that is actually in collaboration with, in conformity with Valmiki's Ramayana. That is fine. That is fine. And as you were saying, in Puranas there may be contradictions. Like here in this verse also we are seeing, Prabhupada is pointing out, there is a contradiction. Some part of the Vedas are saying that Chandrama, moon, was born from Manasa, from the mind of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But here it is saying that moon came from Atri and his wife Anasuya. So, and Prabhupada is pointing out, that is Kalpa Bhed, different Kalpa. In one Kalpa it happened that way, in another Kalpa it happened this way. So it's not that the time is only, this is the only period that we are in. It's moving, so many kalpas. So in some kalpas, moon god appeared from the mind of Krishna, and in some other kalpa, he appeared as the son of Atri. That is how we have to take it. None of them are fictitious, both are actually absolute truth.
In case of Kshatriya, it is said that they can marry many women. Then they are allowed to drink also. Then they can go for hunting also. It is allowed, just like a military practice. Then gambling also they can do. So all these are exceptions for Kshatriya. Even if they do so, they are...
I got your point. But in this age there is no Kshatriya. Therefore nobody can act like that. You got it? If you are a Sudra, then behave like a Sudra. Don't try to behave like a Kshatriya. Kshatriya is prepared to die in the battlefield. Right? He goes to war and he knows that he may not come back. His whole family knows that he won't come back. Who will dare to go into a battlefield with that kind of spirit today? Right? So not just, Kshatriya can have many wives. Okay, first you go fight like him and then be prepared to give your life in the battlefield. Yes, then you can think of having more than one wife. All right? Okay. Okay, so last question. Give it to her.
Maharaj, thank you very much for that good story about Yati, Devyani, and Sarmishta. You mentioned that Kali attacks from the head first. So he destroyed the Brahmins. So then the Kshatriyas became independent. So then you just now said that in Kali Yuga there are no Kshatriyas. So what happened? Who destroyed the Kshatriyas? How did this happen?
How did the Kshatriyas got destroyed?
Yeah.
Is, you see, Kshatriyas in the mode of passion. Right? The passion needs to be harnessed and directed, guided, controlled. Like for example, a horse is very powerful animal. But you let the horse go on its own, what will happen? But when the horse is harnessed and tamed and harnessed and rode, then the horse is very powerful. So similarly the Kshatriyas, they are controlled by the Brahmanas, guided by the Brahmanas. They acted under the guidance and supervision of the Brahmanas. That's why they were productive. But when there was no Brahmanas, like just consider a horse which doesn't have a master. What will you get out of that horse? Right? That's what has happened. And as you asked, how it's going to be reconstituted, right? Prabhupada is creating that arrangement. He made the Brahmanas, and then eventually, and Prabhupada also mentioned that in this age, everyone has become Sudra. There are some Vaishyas, and he is making the Brahmanas. So, like in course of time, maybe proper Vaishyas will be established. Today's Vaishyas are not really Vaishyas. You know why? The definition of a Vaishya is one who caters to the need of the society. One who caters to the need of the society. But today's Vaishyas are, you know what is the definition of business? The definition of business is, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Tell him to move from there. Move from there. The definition of business today is the noble art of cheating people. Isn't it? Cater to the needs of the society. But what is happening? Creating an artificial need to make your profit. So that is the problem. Anyway, so the thing is, Prabhupada wanted that the Varnashram should be established. It will happen, but it's not going to happen overnight. It'll take time. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to see you. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari. Maybe we can end with a little kirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.